Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Imperial Struggle, the global rivalry, Britain and France, 1697 to 1789. This is a game designed by Ananda Gupta and Jason Matthews and published by GMT Games. The team that brought us the Cold War struggle between the Soviet Union and the US is now going back in time a little further and looking at the struggle between the two great empires, Britain and France, in the 17th and 18th centuries. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. Imperial Struggle is a two-player game depicting the 18th century rivalry between France and Britain. It begins in 1697 as the two realms wait warily for the King of Spain to name an heir, and ends in 1789 when a new order brought down the Bastille. Battlefield success will only go so far. To triumph, players must also build the foundations of colonial wealth and deal with the other nations of Europe. Imperial Struggle covers almost 100 years of history and 4 major wars. It aims to honor its spiritual ancestor, Twilight Struggle, by pushing the direction of simple rules and playable systems while maintaining global scope and historical sweep in a single evening. During peace turns, players build economic interests and alliances and take advantage of historical events represented by event cards. They must choose investments wisely and deny them to their opponent. During war turns, each theater can bring great rewards of conquest and prestige, but territorial gains can disappear at the treaty table. At the end of the century, will the British rule an empire on which the sun never sets? Or will France light the way for the world as the superpower of the Sun King's dreams or the Republic of Lafayette's? And we have game contents, a mapboard, rulebook, playbook, 2 play mats, an investment tile display, 2 double-sided war displays, 2 player aids, 4 counter sheets, 41 event cards, and 26 ministry cards. It is rated 2 on the solitaire suitability scale, and it is 4 on the complexity scale. And we see the map and some counters and examples of the cards down here at the bottom. So let's take a look inside and see what you get. And the game comes in a big 3-inch box. Inside we get a counter tray. That's fantastic. GMT has been adding those in some games recently. Rulebook, playbook, player aid cards, 4 counter sheets, player mats, big mounted map, and 2 decks of cards. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the mounted map board that comes with the game. The world is broken down into 4 distinct regions: North America, the Caribbean, Europe, and India. And North America and India are further broken down into 2 subregions, with this white line breaking apart Canada and the northern colonies, and for India, breaking down the Carnatic coast and the Hooghly River area here. You have your general records track over to the bottom right, naval box here for naval units. You have market spaces, territories, and political and naval spaces. It does seem like it's a little busy, but when you break down each of the sections to their own realm, it's not going to be as overwhelming as it initially looks when you first look at the map. And the game comes with 2 player aid cards, 1 for each player. It breaks down the sequence of play, all of the steps for each turn. And on the back, we have the advantage tile guide and the bonus strength guide. Then we get 2 double-sided war displays. The front of this one shows the 7 Years' War. On the back, we get the War of Spanish Succession. On the next one, we get the War of Austrian Succession. And then on the back, we get the American War of Independence. Then we get 2 player mats, 1 for the French and 1 for the British. And these are just like the tank duel boards. These are nice, thick chipboards, so really well done, and they're very durable. And lastly, we get the event deck and investment tile display. Nice thick chipboard, just like the player mats. There are 3 different decks of cards in the game. First couple we'll look at are from the event deck. We have European Panic. And then the War of Jenkins' Ear. This will give you an event for the British as well as 1 for the French. Then we have the Ministry decks. This is 1 for the British and 1 for the French. These will reflect policies and individuals for each of the nations in the game. And we'll look at the counter sheets that come with the game. These are all different size and shapes depending on what their function is in the game. Here we've got some award and investment tiles. Then we have French units in the game. These are war tiles and squadrons here. And one thing that just jumped right out at me was not only do you have the Musketeers, but you also have D'Artagnan. Anybody who's a Three Musketeer fan will get a kick out of that. Then the British War and Squadron tiles. And on the last sheet, we have various administrative counters for use in the game. And we'll take a look inside the rules. It is a 20-page rulebook, full color glossy, table of contents on the front. And on the inside, we have the introduction, summary of play, the turn types, peace turns, war turns, you have your victory. There are 3 ways to win in the game. During the victory check phase of any turn, France wins if the victory point total is 30 or more. Britain wins if the victory point total is 0 or less. After any war's last theater is resolved, if the same player won all of that war's theaters by the maximum indicated strength margin, that player immediately wins the game. Then the third automatic victory condition is at the end of the scoring phase of any peace turns, if the same player won all 4 regional awards and all 3 global demand awards, that player immediately wins the game. Otherwise, you will determine scoring at the end of the 6th turn. You have a component list and a list of the game terms. The map breaks it down to you how to read the map, all the different places on the map, which we kind of looked at before in greater detail here. Your investment tiles, your event cards, ministry cards, squadrons, war tiles, conflict markers, further breakdown of the other markers in the game, the admin markers we were talking about. Then you get to the game sequence, which starts on page 8. So everything else prior to this is all support text. From page 8 on are the actual rules for the game. Then you have your peace turns, your deck phase, all broken down for you. Debt limit award phase, global demand phase, reset phase, deal cards phase, plenty of phases here. We don't need to go through them all. And then we have the prestige scoring, global demand scoring, and the victory check phase. Then the action rounds are explained for you here, how you play your event cards and how those are handled. There are call-out boxes you can see here in different colors. The play notes are in green and the designer's notes are in yellow. Then you have shift market, diplomatic actions, military actions, debt, how to take and reduce it, your debt limit and your available debt, wars and how those are resolved, theater spoils, and then your special rewards, war layout phase, advantage tiles, treaty points, USA flags, final scoring phase, and the optional rules on page 17. And then 18 and 19 gives you your counter manifest, and on the back you have the index for the rulebook. Now we'll take a look inside the playbook. It is 28 pages long. The table of contents here on the front for easy reference. In the front inside cover you have the setup, and then we get to the extended example of play on page 3. And this is a several pages long illustrated examples of play to help you grok the game. So you can read the text, follow along, just like we've become used to with the GMT playbooks. And then we have the note on flags here, and then we finish off with some extra examples, and then the guide for CDG players. We get to the historical background section that gives you the event and ministry cards, a breakdown of those based on the different eras in the game. There are 3 eras in the game, and it'll give you the number of the card and the associated historical event, a little bit of background information on how each of those played out in reality. And we have all of these cards, and we have the French war tiles, the British war tiles, and then we get to the Revolution era, the event and ministry cards for that. And then designer's notes here on page 27, and the bibliography on page 28. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Imperial Struggle, the global rivalry, Britain and France, 1697 to 1789, a game designed by Ananda Gupta and Jason Matthews and published by GMT Games. Another top-notch production from GMT. They just keep knocking it out of the park, and the inclusion of the counter tray is a welcome one. Really hope they continue that trend. It's fantastic to have that in the box. It's a wonderful value add. You get your rulebook, your playbook. The playbook is going to walk you through like GMT has a tendency to do, where they hold your hand through illustrated examples, getting you to understand the concepts in the game. Now, maybe the plays aren't all optimal. It doesn't matter. It's there to teach you the mechanics, not to teach you how to win the game, just teach you how to play it, so that way winning the game is up to you. Rules, it's a 20-page rulebook, but the actual rules start on page 8, go to 17, so 9 pages of rules. Not a lot of pages to take in, but keep in mind, there's a lot of layers in this game. I played this, Ananda was doing demos of this at Harold's convention a few years ago in San Diego. I checked it out and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Very different than Twilight Struggle, Imperial Struggle. Everybody thought, oh, this might be like Twilight Struggle. No, it's its own animal. It's not Twilight Struggle. Has the same type of scope, obviously. It's global, but it's a welcome change from what you get in Twilight Struggle. There's a lot of layers in this game. Like I said, not difficult, but there's a lot of layers, a lot of ways to score. So a lot of things that you have to keep in mind and pay attention to in the game. But I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.